Taraweeh is the sunnah of Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. It is in its current form from the time of Umar radiyallahu anh. You need to understand that a little. Islamic law in Islam, Sharia, comes from one of four things: Quran, Sunnah, Ijma', consensus. And the highest level of consensus happens to be the consensus of the Sahaba. Because once the Prophet passed away, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, it was the Sahaba. So that's the highest level of consensus. Then it was the consensus of the Tabi'een. Then it was the consensus of the Tabi'een. Then it's been the consensus of the ulama afterwards. Right? Then it was the consensus of the fiqh scholars, the consensus of the hadith scholars, and so on and so forth. It's going to be divided. But if it's a consensus of ulama, it can be law in Islam. It's part of Sharia. And then there's analogy, qiyas. Umar radiyallahu anhu instated Salatul Taraweeh in the form of 20 rak'ahs, and none of the Sahaba dissented. It's a law. For almost 1,300 years, Taraweeh was 20. There was no such thing as 8. It was only some 100 and some years ago that a certain individual decided that it was going to be 8. But pick up any literature in Islam, any historical literature, and you won't find 8 anywhere. Up until 1300s, it was always 20. It was never 8. It just wasn't. Then, of course, this is a major argument altogether. We're not going to go into this, but there's the question of, where do you get 8? And then the hadith that Aisha radiallahu anha's hadith that the Prophet alayhi salam prayed 8 in Ramadan and no more than 8 in Ramadan. That was specifically referring to tahajjud. That was not Taraweeh. And there's so many ahadith to back this up and prove this. Now, it may not be possible for everyone to pray 20. Pray whatever you can pray, knowing that the correct number is 20. So if you're not able to, and it's a sunnah, so it's not required, but it is a sunnah mu'akkadah. The Prophet ﷺ, he encouraged, and the Sahaba after that prayed. But if you're not able to pray all 20, whatever you pray, say Alhamdulillah.